Modern games these days, they're far too expensive, often come out broken at launch, and for the most part, in my opinion, they just aren't worth it. We live in a time of gaming abundance. It feels like 10 new games drop every single day. As gamers, we're just spoilt for choice. But as a collector who mainly focuses on retro and usually plays years behind the curve, I've made a conscious decision to cut back on modern releases. This year, I've only picked up 4 games that came out or are coming out in 2025. Expedition 33, a big shout out to James for that one. Silent Hill F for that beautiful steelbook. The Trials in the Sky remake, and the Oblivion remastered digitally. So in today's video, I'm going to go through why I focus mainly on retro and I don't get too involved with modern releases. But first, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down below in the comments, do you collect retro? Do you collect modern? Where do you put your collecting habits? Leave your thoughts down below. And if you love game collecting content, CX adventures, video game discussions, and car boot hunting videos, smash the like button and subscribe to the Collector Quest channel for plenty more game collecting content.
Got something that might interest you.
Let's start with the most obvious reason. My backlog. Just look around you guys. I've got around 400 games in my collection, many of which I haven't got around to playing. And recently, I went through the games haunting my backlog. Games I know I'd love, but for whatever reason, I just haven't got around to playing them. And even after slimming down my collection recently, I've still got far too many games, enough games to last me a lifetime, so why do I need to rush and buy modern releases? It just doesn't make sense to me. Growing up, I barely had any money for games, so now as a collector and an adult with disposable income, I'm making up for the classics I've missed. With so many great experiences just waiting on my shelves, there's really no rush for me to jump out, spend money, time, effort in buying new releases because I've got so many games here waiting for me, so why rush to modern releases? And because of my huge backlog, it just doesn't make financial sense to shell out a lot of money for these more modern releases. Games now are astronomical. We're seeing titles being launched at 50, 60, 70, even £80 in some instances. And for me, it just isn't worth it. Like, at the moment, we're going through a massive cost of living crisis, especially here in the UK. Basic necessities like food, energy, internet, they're all going up in price, and to put £80 on the line for just one game just doesn't make sense to me. I'd much rather get myself out to the car boot, hunting games, DVDs, Blu-rays, electronics, all of those great things, flip them into CEX for those sweet vouchers and turn my £70, £80 into around £210 worth of sweet vouchers by tripling my money. That just makes more financial sense to me, and that's how I collect a large portion of the games in my collection. It just feels so good to add a retro game, a rare game to your collection for a fraction of the real life money. It just feels even sweeter in my opinion. And the truth is, modern games only go one way in price, and that is typically down. If you wait just a few months, most games would drop by around £10 to £20. Take Mario Kart World on the Switch 2 for instance. It launched at £75 in June, and now you can already find it for around £60. That might not sound like a huge difference, but when you're talking £15, £20, and if you pick up a lot of games, that definitely adds up across the entire year. So unless you want to play a modern release day one, I wouldn't recommend jumping out and rushing out to buy a brand new game at launch. And when it comes to the financial side of collecting video games, I just feel my money is better placed in retro titles. Retro titles, if anything, are only going one way in price, and that's up. They're getting rarer, more obscure, harder to obtain for your collection, and I always find my money is better well placed in retro games, in my opinion and my experience. I've got so many games in my collection that I paid say £30, £40 for, and now they're double, even triple that value. Shadow Hearts cost me around £40, £45. That's about an £80 game. Drakengard 3 was a £20 game, brand new and sealed from Amazon. That's now like a £60 game. The list goes on. And while sometimes the opposite does happen, I have lost quite a lot of money on some retro games before. For the most part, retro titles are increasing in price, and that is due to the scarcity and the rarity. As the days go on, these retro games, they're getting rarer, they're not getting made anymore. And unless you find a lost shipment container like we did with Roller Rose, these retro titles are getting more and more harder and more obscure to add to your collection. And for me, as a JRPG and a survival horror fan, These are very niche titles and niche genres, and as someone who rarely goes on eBay, CEX, online, I like to collect and hunt for games in person. It just makes it even harder to pick up some of these rarer games and these rarer titles. So for me, when I see a game out in the wild and it's a high price and I've got the sweet vouchers, I'm going to jump on it. Like I said, my money's better placed in retro games and not modern games, because those games are going to be there, available in the future at probably a reduced price. So for me, I'd go retro all day long. And on that point about modern titles being abundantly available, the thing about modern games, they're typically not going anywhere, and if you give it a few weeks or a few months, you'll see them littered everywhere in CEX and eBay. And for the most part, unless you're going to get a special edition or a steelbook or some sort of collector's edition, there's really no point and no rush to get the base version of a game. Take Mafia: The Old Country for example. It only came out just a couple of weeks ago and I've already seen plenty of copies in pretty much every single CEX I've been to. That's because most modern gamers play for their new release and then trade it in while the value is still relatively high to fund their next game. It creates a constant cycle of modern titles flooding the shelves in CEX. And that's exactly why I don't feel the rush or the urge to pick up a brand new game when it comes out, especially if I don't see myself playing it anytime soon. I'd rather wait 3, 6, 12 months and pick it up for a fraction of the cost. It just makes financial sense to me. And honestly, even if I did want to try and keep up with all of the modern releases, and even if they were cheaper, there's just too many games, man. There's so many games. It feels like every single day new games are being released. Blink and you miss about 10 games. It's so much, it's impossible to keep up. I remember one year I told myself I'd try and keep up with modern releases, and after about a month or two I just got overwhelmed. I couldn't do it. And just this year alone, so many games that came out that are tailored to my own taste, but it's just too much. Games I'm interested in from this year: Ys Memoir, The Oath from Felghana, Freedom Wars Remastered, Dynasty Warriors Origins, Tales of Grace's F Remaster, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, The Legend of Heroes Travel Through Daybreak 2, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage Take 1, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Atelier Yumiya, Xenoblade Chronicles X Remaster, Atom 4, Sega Frontier 2 Remaster. The list goes on, and those games right there, those games just came out in the first 3 months of 2025. It's crazy. And if you look across the whole of 2025, there's probably 20, 30, 40 games that are tailored to my particular gaming taste, and it's just like, man, you can't keep up. You just can't. It's impossible. Like I said, these games aren't going anywhere. They're all pretty much common titles for the most part. I can pick them up as and when I want to pick them up, and even if it takes 1 to 5 years time, I can pick them up from CEX, eBay. There's just no rush, and it's impossible to try and keep up with modern releases. Like I said, let me know down below, do you try and keep up with modern releases? Because I just don't see how it's feasible in today's current climate. And the final nail in the coffin, and the final thing that really broke the camel's back for me, was my overall disdain towards modern gaming and the overall approach and mantra of release it now, fix it later. It just really pains me and kills me, and I just hate how we've gone away from releasing a game in a complete and playable state. Most modern games come out with a day one patch and in a state that includes bugs and issues which all lead to a poor experience. It feels like such a massive slap in the face to consumers when you shell out 60, 70, even £80 and you're told to wait for updates, day one patches. It almost feels like you're a beta tester at that point. And for me, as someone who doesn't really support brand new releases, I feel like such a bandit when I come along 6, 12, 18 months, even years after the fact, buy a new game or a game that came out a few years ago for a fraction of the price, and I've got a much better experience. I've got all the patches, all the updates, and sometimes even DLC. I'm getting a way better experience than everyone that picked it up at launch. It just doesn't feel right to me. And this happened this year with me with the Oblivion remaster. I bought it at launch, played around 10 hours, and it just felt like the game wasn't quite ready. It wasn't in a state that was worth my time. It was quite buggy, performance wasn't the best, so I ended up dropping it, and I'll probably end up coming back to it once I updated it. And lo and behold, recently Bethesda announced that a physical copy of the Oblivion remaster is being released, so they got me. I got caught in the hype, in the FOMO. I've gone on record to say Oblivion is one of my favourite games of all time, but they got me, they duped me, and I should have known better, right? This is why I'm making this video, to remind myself, to tell you guys, don't fall for it. Just wait, be patient, play for your backlog. You've all got hundreds of games waiting to be played, so just don't be like me, do better. And even when modern games get released in a playable state, they're not super buggy, they don't feel like they're being held together by bubblegum and sellotape. In my opinion, I find most, new releases, especially AAA, I find them fairly safe and boring and samey. Like, been there, done that, got the t-shirt kind of mentality, and it just feels like every new release is a prequel, a sequel, a remake, a remaster, a game in an ongoing series. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or someone who is being a downer on modern releases, because I think we're in a good place when it comes to modern releases. We have had some stinker of years, but it just feels like year after year we're getting the same kind of games. And I'm not a hater on remakes or remasters, I actually quite like them, as it allows us to go back in time and replay old experiences on more modern hardware, but it just feels like we could be doing a bit more. And I get it, right? Making games is such an expensive endeavour, it's so risky, and I get why people want to play it safe, but for someone who's been gaming for nearly 25 years, I just want a bit more from my modern games. And the only game that I played this year that really pushed the boundaries for me was Expedition 33. I think that game has set a new standard for turn-based combat with its parrying and dodging mechanics, and I think for me, a lot of games need to look to Expedition 33 of how to push forward the turn-based mechanics in a JRPG or JRPG-like game. But then, even thinking about Expedition 33, the mechanics that we see in the combat was built on top of greats like Paper Mario and Lost Odyssey. And I get it, right, gaming's been around for 35, 45 years, and like with any medium, you are going to get to a point where it's iterative and not innovative. And I feel like we have kind of reached that point with modern games, especially AAA. Like, if you want something that's cool, wacky, something that's different, you've got to go to the indie space now. And that's cool and all, but I just wish modern releases like Expedition 33 would just take more risk and would just try and be a bit different than the standard. And even all of the games that I mentioned earlier, games in 2025 that do pique my interest, I mean, how many of those are sequels, prequels, remasters, games in ongoing series? They're cool games, but I just want something a bit different. And it actually sounds quite ironic, but I'm trying to find new experiences by going back in time and playing 10, 15, 20-year-old games. It sounds quite weird, but that's how I'm able to experience new games, by going back in time and playing older games. And recently I've just started playing Dragon Guard 3. I'm about 10, 15 hours in, and that game is so different to anything I've played in recent memory. And while the gameplay is pretty repetitive, the frame rate is horrible, it's so janky, the camera doesn't know what to do in the midst of all the chaos, I'm still really enjoying the game. It's so zany, so goofy. I love the fourth wall breaking moments, I love the dialogue, it's so unhinged, I love the characters, I love Zero, I love the over-sexualization. There's a law reason, trust me guys. I just feel like older games, they had that magic, that pizzazz to them, and I just feel like we've lost it in modern releases. And the best thing I can say about Dragon Guard 3, it feels so much like an old ass PS2 game. It's very simple in its design, mission-based gameplay where you just hack and slash in your way through a ton of enemies. There's a boss at the end of each level, then you get some story moments. It's a very simple game, but for me, I feel like that's okay, and not everything has to be this 100-hour beast, and not everything has to consume your entire life. And modern games seem to want to just suck you in and never let you go. And if you like that, then more power to you. But for me, I just want something a bit different, and that's why I'm playing more retro games. And that really sums it up for me and why I look to prioritize retro over modern. Unless it's a game I absolutely need to jump into on day one. It's a game I'm so hyped for. It's a game that I need to be a part of the zeitgeist for. I typically don't get involved with modern releases. Unless it's something I have to be there day one, I wait for the aforementioned reasons, and I'm more than happy to play 10, 15, 20-year-old games, and maybe in a year, 2 years, 5 years, maybe never, I'll pick up those modern releases when they're cheaper, in a better state, and just fit in with my overall collecting habits. But those are just my thoughts and why I look to prioritise retro titles over modern titles amidst the sea of constant releases. But now I want to hear from you guys. How do you collect? Do you prioritise modern releases? Are you like me? Do you collect retro? Do you just dip your toes into modern releases? Let me know down below, and while you're down there in the comments, smash the like button and subscribe to the Collector's Quest channel for more card boot hunting videos, CX adventures, and video game discussions just like this one. And as always, good luck on your game hunts and collecting adventures. Take it easy YouTube, and I'll catch you in the next one.